Hi there, 7th graders. This is Chapter 15, The Spirit of Reform, Section 5, The Women's Rights Movement, starting on page 493. Do follow along. The main idea of this section: emboldened by their work in the anti-slavery movement, many women fought to improve their own status in society. In this section, we will learn why women became unhappy with their positions in the mid-1800s, how working in the anti-slavery movement prepared women to fight for their own rights, and what traits leaders of the women's rights movement shared. Women took a special interest in the anti-slavery movement. As they fought for social reform for African Americans, they realized that they also lacked full social and political rights. When women such as Angelina and Sarah Grimke tried to participate actively in the anti-slavery movement, they were often met with resistance. As a result, many abolitionists became crusaders for women's rights. Equal rights for women would require major reform. By the 1800s, women actually had fewer rights than they had in colonial times. They had few political or legal rights. Women could not vote. They could not hold public office. A woman's husband owned all of her property. Anti-slavery movement gives women a boost. Women from New England to Ohio joined anti-slavery societies. They worked hard, gathering signatures on thousands of petitions to send to Congress. They also read about and discussed the abuses of slavery. Many saw similarities between the treatment of enslaved persons and women. In her book, Women in the 19th Century, journalist Margaret Fuller observed that there exists in the minds of men a tone of feeling toward women as toward slaves. Abolitionists Angelina and Sarah Grimke confronted this feeling when they spoke to anti-slavery groups. Audiences did not criticize their stand on slavery. They did, though, question their right to speak in public. As a result, the Grimkes soon found themselves in the midst of an entirely new contest, a contest for the rights of women. Sarah wrote that, "All I ask is that men will take their feet from off our necks and permit us to stand upright." The women's rights movement. Their involvement in the anti-slavery movement and other reform movements gave women roles outside their homes and families. They learned valuable skills such as organizing, working together, and speaking in public. Eventually, they used these skills to further their own cause, the women's rights movement. In 1840, 9 women from the United States attended the World Anti-Slavery Convention in London. When the women arrived at the convention, however, the male delegates barred them from participating. The women and some male allies protested. On the first day of the convention, delegates debated the situation. Clergy at the convention considered it improper for women to participate. Other male delegates declared women unfit for public or business meetings. In the end, the majority of delegates decided that women could not take part in the discussions. Instead, the women's delegates would have to sit in the gallery behind a curtain. Humiliated and angry, 2 of the women, Lucretia Coffin Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, spent hours after the meetings talking about women's position in society. They realized that they could not bring about social change if they themselves lacked social and political rights. Stanton and Mott resolved to hold a convention as soon as we returned home and to form a society to advocate the rights of women. The Seneca Falls Convention. 8 years passed before the 2 friends organized their convention. On July 19, 1848, the first Women's Rights Convention opened at Seneca Falls, New York. Both male and female delegates attended the convention. The delegates issued the Seneca Falls Declaration, which proclaimed that all men and women are created equal. Then the Declaration listed several resolutions. One of them demanded suffrage, or the right to vote for women. Even supporters of women's rights hesitated to pass this bold demand. Mott claimed, "Oh, Lizzie, that will make us ridiculous. We must go slowly." But Stanton refused to withdraw the resolution. After much heated debate, it passed by a narrow margin. The Seneca Falls Convention marked the beginning of an organized women's rights movement. Following the convention, women did not achieve all of their demands. They did, however, overcome some obstacles. Many states passed laws permitting women to own their own property and to keep their earnings. Many men and women, though, continued to oppose the movement. Most politicians ignored or acted hostile to the issue of women's rights. Next up, we have a biography about Lucy Stone, and that's a picture of her on this page. Lucy Stone speaks out. The work of dedicated women like Lucy Stone kept the woman question from fading away. Born in 1818 on a Massachusetts farm, Stone had to plead with her father to let her go to school. Her brothers had been sent to college, but Stone's father, like many people, thought that girls needed only an elementary education. At 16, Stone became a teacher and resolved to attend college. At age 25, Stone entered Oberlin College in Ohio. Despite a lack of money, she was determined to graduate. She worked 3 jobs at once, but could only pay for 2 years of schooling. After much hesitation, her father lent her enough money to finish her education. At graduation time, Oberlin teachers invited Stone to write an address for the graduation ceremonies. Stone, though, could not give her own speech. Women were barred from speaking publicly. A man would have to read her speech, so Stone refused to write it. Over the years, Stone experienced unfair treatment many times. As a teacher, she earned less than men doing the same work. As a student, she struggled to pay for her education, while her father readily paid her brother's way. When she became a public speaker after earning her degree, she faced disapproval and worse. During Stone's lectures, critics attacked her in mobs, doused her with water, and hit her with a book. Despite people's hostility, Stone persevered. She felt constantly reminded of the inferiority of women in her society. This became a common theme in the lives of women who participated in the women's rights movement. Stone began speaking publicly for women's rights in 1847. She defiantly asserted her goal. "I expect to plead not for the slave only, but for suffering humanity everywhere. Especially do I mean to labor for the elevation of my sex." Audiences likened her voice to a silver bell. Years later, she became known as the morning star of the civil rights movement. Susan B. Anthony enters the movement. Susan B. Anthony, a powerful organizer, soon joined the women's rights movement. Anthony grew up as a Quaker. Her father encouraged her to get an education, so she became a teacher. A dedicated reformer, Anthony joined the temperance movement and worked for the American Anti-Slavery Society. In the spring of 1851, Anthony met Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and the two formed a lifelong friendship. Anthony later became president of the American Women's Suffrage Association and worked tirelessly to win other rights for women. Anthony also became one of the first to urge full participation of African Americans in the women's suffrage movement. Through her efforts, the state of New York agreed to grant married women the guardianship of their children and control their own wages. Today, Anthony is one of the early movement's best remembered leaders. African American women joined the struggle. African American women were inspired to fight for women's rights as they had fought for the rights of African Americans. Sojourner Truth, a former slave, spoke out against slavery and in defense of women's rights. No African American woman attended the Seneca Falls Convention, and only a few other women's rights conventions. I just lost my spot, because abolition remained a more urgent concern. Truth, however, often attended the meetings to remind women that their African American sisters had a place in the movement for women's rights. As African American women fought to end slavery, they inspired women with their tremendous achievements. Harriet Brent Jacobs wrote Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl and reminded women they could influence their own lives. Thanks for listening.